Are you interested in giving these economic central planners more power over our economy, more power over your daily life and your economic activity? And I answer that question, HE double hockey sticks, no.
What's up, everybody? I hope you're all doing good. Zack, Mwekassa, the Black Warrior. Today is a beautiful day. Again, we have some good stuff to share with you. I've spoken about it many times. For those of you who are with us for a while, it is here. The digital euro has been dropped. Yeah. The CBDC, for those of you who don't know, it's a different form of money of transaction. The digital euro has been implemented into Europe now. It's no more game. I know many people thought it was a game. Oh, you're just talking nonsense. This is not going to happen. This is in Ethiopia. This is going to happen in your dreams. Well, it is happening in reality. So what is CBDC? CBDC is a central bank digital currency, a form of digital currency issued by country's central bank. They are similar to cryptocurrencies, except that their value is fixed by central bank, an equivalent to the country's fiat currency. So the CBDC is very close to cryptocurrency, but this is issued by your bank. This is controlled. This is centralized. Bitcoin and others are not centralized. They are decentralized. So anybody can just transact the way they want. You can send money to your brother without any issues, no middleman, no fees, nothing. The speed is tremendous. So you can do whatever you like. You can buy things without necessarily being tracked and followed. Cryptocurrency was brought forward by free thinkers, free people looking to create something that is free, that is open source, that will help most of the people do whatever transaction they like to do, but with freedom, without necessarily having to pay any percentage to a company or to any organization. Countries, the big countries, you know which one they are. After seeing this, they decided to create a rival to cryptocurrency, what they call CBDC. The ultimate goal here is to eradicate cash. They want cashless societies. What are cashless societies? These are societies where there's no cash. So everything, all transactions that you have to do it online using an app that is obviously controlled by a group of people. So everything you have, you will have to do through this app, through this digital money. Now, the euro has been digitized. I want to show you something very interesting, a video of somebody very respected who's worked for central bank. I think if I tell you stories, I tell you something, you may think it's conspiracy theory. Most of the time when you bring some of the truth that can derange, many people think it's conspiracy theory. It's all about control. It's never because they really want your wellness. No, listen to the cow's mouth themselves.
Many protests in Europe against the electronic euro. What is the reason?
It's the beauty of Europe. It has different positions. If you ask...
So this is Christina Lafarge, very prominent person in World Bank, and she's saying it the way it is. I think she let a few words slip without necessarily understanding what she was saying. Listen very carefully.
In Northern Europe, for instance, in the Netherlands, they're quite happy to see the e-euro coming. If you ask a young German man, he'll say, yeah, fine. As I said, I don't want Meta, Google, or Amazon to suddenly come up with a currency that will take over the sovereignty of Europe. I don't want a foreign currency to become the currency of trading within Europe.
What?
So we have to be ready.
So the goal here is to combat, as she said, on the first side, the goal is to combat other cryptocurrencies that may come into Europe and enable Europeans to be free to transact the way they want. So they must think forward before the cryptocurrency open source. It allows anybody freedom to do whatever they like, freedom to transact without necessarily having deduction, freedom to actually possess your money. It's your money. Nobody tells you how much you can spend, how much you have to use, and they need to combat that. Let's follow what she has to say again. Listen carefully.
No, the problem is they don't want to be controlled. They don't want to...
Yeah, but you know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold. Above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the grey market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control, you're right. You're completely right. We are considering whether for very small amounts, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. But that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit cards that you can recharge in total anonymity.
That is absurd. I mean, she said it. There must be control. Yeah, there's going to be a level of control. So she's saying here that in France, there's a threshold. People cannot spend more than 1,000 euros on a transaction. If you do it with cash, you're on the gray side, meaning you are becoming very slowly illegal or doing something that are not necessarily accepted in the community. So just remember, fellas, 1,000 euros is nothing. So they're saying you cannot spend 1,000 euros in cash because you're going to get arrested or you're going to get fined. Okay, I'm just going to remind you, whose money is this? No, the 1,000 euros that you spend, whose money is it? Is it yours? Is it theirs? And she says, you know what? They have a threshold. They're thinking about making it 300 or 400 euros. They're going to be controlled. So around 300 or 400 euros, which is absolutely nothing, you cannot spend any further than that. Because Madame Lafarge believes that the terrorists in France 10 years ago were sponsored by very small amounts of money. That's why they were able to do things they did. Now, my question is this. Since 2010 or whatever, when the terrorists did their attack, how many times terrorists have done attacks with funding coming across 300 euros and 200 euros? How many times have terrorist attacks happened? So you're telling me because there was a terrorist situation with 300 and 400 euros that happened many years ago, one time? Therefore, the trend of life of everybody on earth going to change because of that incidence of trade? Oh, doesn't make any sense. So if something happens somewhere, it must change life forever? No, doesn't make any sense. Whose money is it? Is it your money? Is it their money? Because the bottom line is, if they can dictate how much money you can spend, they can dictate what you can buy. They can dictate what you can acquire. They can dictate what type of food you get. Let me just remind you about global warming. They said a lot of things along the lines of eating meat creates a lot of global warming or whatever, methane, gas and all that stuff. So what about they just come up and say, you know what, guys, we're going to have a threshold for everybody. The amount of gas you can get from your meat, your regular meat. And you go to the shop, you go buy meat, you bring your CBDC to purchase meat and you say, no, you cannot purchase because you've reached your threshold of meat consumption. Is that something you want to see in your life in the future? So terrorism, it has been actually the reason why they want to implement many changes, which I found absolutely absurd. It's basically they create fear. Once you fear, then they take away your freedom. They give you fear, in return they get your freedom. Or in order for me to be safe, let me give up my freedom. So you're giving up your freedom. The problem is many people are accepting this. I mean, go across Africa. Who spends a credit card? I mean, except one or two countries, including South Africa. Most of the rest of African countries, people use cash. Cash is king. Cash is what people do cash. And cash has got no issues. Not at all. Let's listen to this man, who's also one of them. Very interesting high-hand figure in World Bank. He has something interesting to say. Listen to him very carefully.
All our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today.
We don't know who's using? This is none of your business.
A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that.
What? Central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulation of the use of that note. So central bank will decide how you use your $100. Listen, when you have your cash in your pocket, it's yours. Whatever you decide to go do with it, it's up to you. Whether you okay with government or not, you have $100. That's the money you have. You can spend it on food. You can spend it on whatever. You can spend it on anything that you like. When you have a digital version of that, it's not yours. They just need to switch you off and you're done. They will have the technology to enforce that, meaning the technology to block you when it's necessary. Guys, we need to wake up. It's all about control. It's not about terrorist attack and money laundering. Trust me, the biggest money launderers are banks. Banks launder money. Yeah, much. Oh yeah, they don't talk about it. Of course they cannot. They just don't want you to do it. Or you do something what they call money laundering. They do the very same thing. It's not about that. It's not about terrorism. It's not about protection. It's not about security. It's about control. It's about how much money you can spend and on what. Are you going to buy stuff that's going to protect your family when it's necessary? No, we don't want that. Let me just remind you, in China, you cannot buy a knife without being registered, authorized to buy a knife. Yes. The kitchen knife. You cannot buy a knife without an authorization from government. So whatever digital currency you're using, if you're not authorized to buy a knife, it's not going to allow you to buy a knife. Is that the world you want to live in? And in China, if government doesn't like the way you conduct yourself, they can just block you from going anywhere. You cannot go see your parents in another city. You can't go visit your brother in a next door city because they're not happy with whatever you said on social media. Because they're not happy with something that you said on social media. Is that the kind of life you want to live in? I don't want to live like that. I want freedom. So I want to encourage you today, fellas. Use cash. Use your cash. Let's not allow these people to play with us like we're not kids, we're not children to be told what to do. Use your cash. Instead of using your card, print your cash and use it. I think that's going to be the first step to the pushback. I don't want a cashless society, and I'm sure a lot of you out here don't want it either. And it feels like they are imposing us a new world that we don't necessarily agree upon. That's not fair. Now we're going to listen to somebody very interesting, George Soros. For those of you who don't know who this man is, I suggest you do some research. He's one of the elite, one of the richest guys with his rich club of billionaires. They came up with this idea of digitalizing money. And that's a while back, in 2009. He was already saying we need a new system. Listen to him.
But the system we have now has actually broken down, only we haven't quite recognized it. And so you need to create a new one. And this is the time to do it.
The system is broken down. Who broke it? Okay, guys, this is the time to do a new system. A new system, obviously, that is initiated by billionaires. It's not for you. Trust me, it's not for you. It's not advantageous for you. It's not going to be helping you in any way. Trust me. They're going to sell you all these ideas of terrorism and avoiding this and that, but that's not the goal. Absolutely not. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, fellas. Let us know how you feel about this cashless society. Is this what you want for your future, for your children? I'm going to see you again very soon. God bless.